going on with the programming within Chrome for the YouTube interface. I couldn't click on the go live button one week, so it's you name it. We've had the issue and error with it before.
I'm sure. How many episodes have you guys done so far?
Well, that depends. So, like I said, we started, and I was just sort of live on Facebook for a little while, but then I decided to make it into a podcast. So, this is podcast episode 97,
Wow.
but it is week number 186.
Oh, wow.
So we did it without it being a podcast for a while, and then we've been doing it since March 2021. I think was our first
Unreal.
was one I yeah, and so since March 2021, I have missed 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
One was when my wife and I went on our honeymoon.
Well, that's
And in
fair.
fact, we recorded an episode at the top of a ski hill because they had a beer. They had a local beer that was there. So she said, "Oh, we could just make a video and release it later." And I'm like, "I married the right person."
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the second time was when my son was born.
That's also
And
very fair.
I knew that the marriage was not going to last if I insisted on bringing a podcast into the hospital room when he was trying to sleep. So I
Yeah,
managed
fair
to,
enough.
yeah, took 2 weeks off, which that turned out okay. Regardless, starting a little late, so I'll do the official intro for all good, and then we'll just kind of see what happens. I am Ross. My co-host is not here, but despite him attempting to connect, still I'm talking to Cameron MacKinnon, who's joining us as a representative of the Craft Brewers Association of Nova Scotia. And together we're going to drink Nova Scotia dry. Cameron, thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
I've reached out to and honestly, when we first spoke and you said it was CBANS, I thought, oh man, I've been saying it wrong this whole time. I just usually call it CBANS.
That's yeah. I mean, there. I don't think there's any wrong answer there. We say CBANS internally, but yeah, you can call it whatever you like.
Perfect timing. Here's Ian finally trying to join, and we'll see how well or poorly this goes. Um, but and my favorite part of this is when we get a guest on, oftentimes from a brewery, and then we get to drink the beers from the brewery. And it was kind of a difficult question because you said, what should we drink? And I said, well, you're the guest, you get to choose what to drink. And I honestly could not be happier. I sent the three that you suggested. I remember I sent them to Ian in text, and part of the message was I audibly gasped in delight when I read these three choices.
Glad to hear that. I wanted to pick a couple of kind of Nova Scotia OGs for you guys.
Are these favorites or preferences of yours, or just?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, I wanted to have a Breton beer on here, of course, and Black Angus is our flagship. But yeah, I mean, Tata, they make some phenomenal stuff. We're really good friends with them, and I hadn't had a red from Tata in a little while, so I thought that'd be a good fit. And I hadn't had a Diablo in a while, also, so I thought that'd be a good fit too.
Will you? Again, welcome Ian. And Ian, this is Cam. Cam, this is Ian. We're just going to introduce you live and go for it from here. Sound check.
Hello,
1 2
Cam.
1 2. There.
Whoa.
Do you have my audio?
Yep. Done. Doing it live. Perfect.
Okay, I'll tell you afterwards what on earth. You'll have to explain things to me about technical stuff, Ross, because I don't know what I did, but you'll explain it to me afterwards. I'm
We'll
sure.
figure the whole thing out. Oh, one moment. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm being offered a ghoulish cookie
Oh, delicious.
that my daughter and
Nice.
her boyfriend have apparently made. So yeah, Cam was asking what if we need to quickly take a side break or something, and I said it's a very informal conversation, so don't worry about that. For example, I have just been offered a cookie as I'm sitting here, but
My peanuts. I've got my peanuts as I usually have. Cam, I
goodness.
noticed the word. Is it short for Cameron?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Short for
I
Cameron.
did notice on your webpage there were two Camerons. Are there still two Camerons involved?
On my web, on the Breton Brewing webpage.
Oh, well, I was looking at the actual web page itself, and there's about 7 or 8 directors from various breweries, etc. And there were two Camerons involved.
Sorry, yes, that's Cam from Schoolhouse.
I was going to say I
So
know that name.
He's also on the board with the Craft Brewers Association, and an awesome guy.
But you're up there in Cape Breton.
I'm in Halifax actually. I am in Cape Breton a lot for work, but I'm based at Halifax. Again, okay. I'm back there quite a bit, but yeah, I live in Halifax and based out there.
Oh, that's a drive.
Yeah, you know what? But when you're from Cape Breton and you've been doing it for 40 years, it's you get pretty used to it.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
And the road and the highway gets better and better. I mean, I remember going when I was in high school and it was a slog. But nowadays, my daughter, she goes and plays sports up there. And it's actually kind of just this nice coast. You know, this is delightful. If I want to pass somebody, I can. Ooh.
Yeah. Since they've extended it through Antigonish, the two-lane, the divided highway, it's been awesome.
Yeah. I would love to get into this first one. And then obviously we got oodles, well, not oodles of questions, but it's just the kind of thing where we've been talking about the relationship between CBANS and the breweries of Nova Scotia as we've been meeting a lot of the brewers themselves and talking to the breweries, drinking all of the beers that are from there. And I guess we're just, the short answer is we're curious about the relationship. And I'm sure the short answer is it works great. Not to put words in your mouth.
Like the relationship with the Craft Brewers Association and the brewers. Yeah.
How long has it been a thing? The CBANS, the Craft Brewers of Nova Scotia organization. How long has it been a thing?
It has been a thing since 2011. That's when it was founded. So I think it was at that time where, you know, I don't want to guess at the number of breweries, but I might say only 9 or 10 at that time. So I think it was, a number of breweries wanting a unified voice, just to kind of be able to advocate for the things that, you know, they felt were really important. And, maybe having a vision of kind of a bit of a surgence, which we obviously saw massive of through that time, and wanting to kind of band together to work for, you know, the greater good of that industry.
A common goal among all the different breweries, sets of standards, etc., that you were working to achieve, etc., and to help one another.
Essentially, we're better together.
Right.
Yeah, it's an incredibly collaborative industry, and I think most people that you probably will talk to will tell you that. Whether it's through things like collaboration brews, or whether it's things like just kind of calling people and bouncing questions, or having conversations with them about, hey, did you guys ever run into this? Or hey, did you ever run into that? And I think most people within our industry are there to help, other breweries. I think of people like, Brian Titus, that guy's helped so many craft breweries, through the years, and, he's one of the OGs. So I think there's a lot of that within our industry. Yeah.
Well, your first choice, I couldn't be happier with. This is one of the ones I introduce people to craft beer with. This one. Not because it's like an easy introduction, but I introduce this because it's got a bit of a zip that people aren't expecting. So sometimes there's the novelty that grabs. So this is the Good Robot Diablo Mexican lager. I think at one point it had the full El Espinazo del Diablo on there, which was the spine of the devil. Yeah. So I think that might have.
I noticed that, Ross, when I picked up the can earlier and today, when you said, "Have you got these things?" and I had none of them, so I whizzed down the local liquor store, and I thought, "Oh, they've changed the name of it." I'm just guessing it's because people either couldn't pronounce it, or it's way too long, and it's far more brevity and all that to say Diablo. It's far easier for everyone, I'm sure.
As a very vanilla son of Scottish immigrants here in Nova Scotia, I felt extremely exotic by saying El Espinazo del Diablo. I thought that was I was so fancy saying that.
But bloody show-offs.
There's not a lot written on the can. There's the beautiful artwork of the devil himself holding the can and having some sort of either lifting a heavy weight or perhaps having some other issues. But I love with a hint of lime and jalapeno. And up on the website on goodrobotbrewing.ca does say a light, crisp, crushable Mexican lager with just a zing of lime zest and jalapenos. Not spicy! ! Gold winner at the 2019 Atlantic Canada Brewing Awards. Our Mexican lager is perfect, paired with Mexican food, and is often described as nachos in a can.
Cam?
Yeah.
Cam. Back in 2021, I believe it was, Ross, when you invited me along to sit alongside you.
This was your first episode as co-host, yeah?
Yeah, It absolutely was. I think it was like episode 19 or something like that. Something like that. Ross had already been going for several months doing this, Cam, and he invited me along and said, "Hey, man, do you want to come and try this?" And I said, "Yeah, cool." And what we did was we had 2 cans each of this on his deck one summer's evening. And the first one, I thought, I'm not sure. Is this supposed to have some kind of spiciness to it? Because the can suggested it did. And I was like, there's not much going on here. And then we cracked open the second one, and I don't know what happened. I had an epiphany, and immediately I'm like, oh, there's something going on there. And this can got stronger and stronger, the spices, until eventually they were coating my throat, my mouth. I thought, do you need 2 cans of this stuff to really get the effect of it? But it was quite delicious, and and that's the last time I had one. So it is 3 years ago.
The first one was a palate cleanser for you, and the second one really, really hit.
Maybe should have got 2 again. I only got the one.
I have introduced this to lager fans, friends of mine, and they drink a Stella Artois. They think that's the fanciest beer they can get. They drink Molson Canadian. They have Keith's, this kind of thing. And at one point they said, "No, I just can't really get into it." I said, "This is on tap. The Mexican lager is on tap. You've got to try this." I said, oh, okay, fine. And it's such a well-made beer. And then there's that little, what is going on in this flavor here? This is just, it's something a little different, but it fits so well. And the story I always bring up is years and years and years back. The first, I happened to find the Propeller made, and it was just called the Jalapeno or something, the Propeller Jalapeno Lager. And someone brought it to a party, and I drank it. And where Good Robot says with an exclamation point, not spicy, that's important. Because the Propeller Jalapeno one burned. It was a hot tamale on the tongue, on the everything. It was so spicy. And I said it was the best feature of the beer because when you take a drink, you immediately need to take another drink to put the fire out. So it just causes you to buy more and more and more.
You got to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's why they put zippy, not spicy on the can, which I quite like.
Yeah. Because the flavor's there.
The lime is what I smell straight from the can. The bouquet is limey. I'm not smelling anything apart. Clearly, you're already tasting it, but the smell I'm getting immediately when I crack it open is the lime. And now I don't know what it is about Mexican beers, but of course a lot of them are the rice beers, I believe, is the kind of big down there, and of course they stick these little bits of lime in there as well. Is this made from rice?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. We'd have to ask the boys, I suppose, Josh and Doug and Angus. But I'm not positive, to be honest with you.
Trying. Gonna try. I'm looking forward to this so much.
We also have this argument all the time that I dislike Corona, and Ian always says, well, you have to have it with the slice of lime or lemon in it. And then my opinion comes down on, if I have to add an ingredient to your product, then your product wasn't good enough. So what they've done here, they put in the flavor that they want you to have with it. So it's
you don't need to add to it. It's been done for you.
Yeah, it's part of the experience. They say, this is how you should drink it. This is the flavor. I don't got to go buy my own lime.
Yeah. I never really thought of it that way. I think that, maybe some places that do that, or like a Corona or something like that, they look at it as like adding an accent to it. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's a marketing thing.
Did they, can you remember, Ross, this far back? Did they always have the zest of lime in it?
They must have. Yes.
Okay.
They must have. But I think for me, I was just always so impressed with the jalapeno. I think I would just laser focus on the jalapeno part of it, the spicy part of it, for the really interesting flavor going on. Because again, I've only ever had one other beer that tries to do this. I've got a spice. I've got a hint of jalapeno to it. And also talking about your flavors, your senses changing over age. As I got older, spice became more of a flavor to me than just fire.
A heat.
I've got the subtlety. I said I was looking forward. It took the second can before it was really doing its thing. It's a real hint. I don't know about you guys. It's not crazy right now. It's very, very subtle.
But
it's not really strong. It's quite subtle, and it's quite nice. It's been a little while since I've had one of these, but it's very nice.
It's extreme. It's a real summery drink. I mean, clearly it's got the lime thing going on. I mean, what strength is it again? It's not for the faint-hearted. It's 5.6.
5.6.
Oh, 5.6.
Yeah, 5.6. So it's a strong old beer.
Again, this is a recommendation. You know, we've had nearly 200 beers, probably more than that, and this is one of my recommendations that I always say to people.
Good robot.
If you want to get in, try this.
Are they not? I've never been inside it. I've passed their premises so often, going into Halifax, and it always looks so cool from the outside. I see you got a picture of it behind you there, Ross, and it's a place that it's beckoning me in, but I haven't stopped in yet. And
you gotta get in there.
I've got to get.
It's a very cool spot, a really nice space. The upstairs they call it the Mouse Trap, and it's a really, really nice area. It's like you can rent it out for private events. They do kind of different shows and stuff there, but it's really nice.
Getting past this one, I mean, we will happily talk about how wonderful this beer is from Good Robot, but my not so much a question, but just sort of a bit more of a something that I've noticed is when you describe what CBANS is and does, is it sounds a lot to me. I've done some work with some small business associations, you know, kind of county to county, and it feels much like that, where it's a collaboration, but an independence, but a group together making decisions and in that same type of way. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a voice advocating for Nova Scotia craft beer within Nova Scotia craft beer. So it's there are a lot of different kind of facets. You know, there are larger producers and there are smaller producers and there are, you know, medium-sized producers, and you know, there are people who want to grow bigger. There are people who want to maybe kind of stay the same size, and there are people who want to be, you know, more hyper local and more community-oriented breweries. And everybody needs a voice. You know, just the big guys don't need a voice, or just the medium guys. Everyone needs a voice together, and all of those different breweries need different things. So, you know, we kind of try to take all of that and focus on, hey, you know, there's a small producers group within CBANS that, you know, they have their own kind of group, and they meet and they bring things to, you know, to Debbie, our executive director, or to the board. A couple of board members are on that committee, of course, and they come and they say, hey, here's some of the problems that are facing us as producers. How can you help with that? So, you know, maybe that's some things within the NSLC, maybe that, you know, it could be any kind of number of things. And we'll take those things and we'll try to help work on them the same way we would if there are issues kind of anywhere, right? So yeah, it's a voice where you're heard.
Especially as when you're a business, and I have to kind of assume that everyone is an independent business within Nova Scotia. Nobody's a chain it's not like a chain restaurant. Oh, we're the Budweiser plant, you know, we're the Budweiser small craft breweries. It's not really a thing. So if everyone's an independent business within Nova Scotia, it's the difference between saying, oh, I've got a problem and I'm all alone, and saying, oh, I've got a problem, I'm gonna go get my friends who probably have even gone through this before.
Right. So how do you make your voice heard if you're by yourself in this, you know, when you're dealing with, you know, things like the NSLC and the government and, you know, all of these issues that you might have, that can be, you know, cumbersome. It can be difficult. It can be, where do I start, you know, kind of thing for some people. So that's a big part of, you know, who CBANS are and what they do.
A business and industry resource.
I'm assuming, please correct me if I'm wrong, that you are all online. You only have an online presence, or do you have a premises anywhere within the?
No, it's all done online. I mean,
it's all done online. That makes perfect sense. You're from. I mean, your furthest brewery would be Yarmouth. Would it? Heritage. Is it?
Heritage.
Right. Yep. Right up to Cape Breton.
Up to Cape Breton, to us Big Spruce. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to be. I'd love to be able to commute that every day. If you've got like 7 or 8 directors, and you think everyone has to meet here in Halifax, we'll pay you gas money.
9 a.m.
We've done. I mean, we do like an annual general meeting for all the breweries. So, you know, lots come, and of course the recap. You know, everything from financials to all kinds of things. but all the board meetings are done online. I mean, pre-COVID, I think we used to do some occasionally in person, but it's the technology is there for us to be able to be at home or at our breweries, and everyone that does it is, they're either working or running or owning a brewery. So, saving even a half an hour or an hour is helpful.
And can I ask what your where you fit in at Breton Brewing? Are you the head brewer?
Sure. No, I'm not on the brewing side. I'm the director of sales for Breton. So I handle everything on the sales side for them.
Okay. I've got some tingling on my lip.
Yeah,
clearly, that's the first bit. That's the first bit that touches the beer, and but it's. I'm not getting. I'm getting a little tingle there, but I'm not getting that spiciness as I did last time.
Something's wrong with your mouth. I said this 3 years ago that you cannot taste the jalapeno, and I feel sorry for you because it's such a delightful infused flavor, whether natural or not. Yeah, back end, down the throat. It's that same kind of, I just had some. Like I love the description. I don't remember reading that previously on the website, that the description is it's nachos in a can. Where you think, is that right? The lovely mix of the zing and the spice.
That's a great line, and a perfect good robot line.
I'm getting nods. Rebecca is just trying it now. She didn't try it last time, of course, because I was on your deck by myself. So this is the first time she's tried it. I'm getting nods. Are you getting? Do you get? It's refreshing, absolutely. It's summery.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting some spiciness from jalapeno? Not yet. So it might be latent. Again, hey, listen. We do know, of course, that heat. The temperature that these things are served at can bring out the spiciness and things. So I have just yanked mine out of the fridge. It's only been in there sort of half an hour, just to chill things down a tiny bit. So it shouldn't be. It's not ice cold for sure. What about you guys?
Mine came out cold, and I was getting the little hint of spice kind of coming down the back end. So it might take you a minute.
Mine's sitting at about 10 degrees ish in the cooled cellar.
Rebecca's got, I think we've established this, Ross, over the years. She's actually got a better taste. Her taste buds are more refined than mine, and she picks up on things that I don't. But at the moment, she's not giving me much here about the spices. I don't know. She's going to have to drink the other half a pint, and I'm fine with that.
Fair enough.
I think she deserves it.
I think we need to get the 3 cans now so that we can each enjoy one. I've started sending you those, mostly when I have to buy them in a 4-pack. I say, oh, good, Rebecca gets one. The second one that I recommend all of this one to my friends also. I tell everybody about this one because we talk about our transition from non-craft beer, your Molson and your whatnot, to craft beer, and mine was via the Rickard's Red. So a red ale has always been, the soft spot for me, and I try everyone's red ale, and I'm looking for that really nice mixture, a really smooth malt, even a malt forward, but a caramel tip to it, kind of nice thing.
Yeah.
But this one, the Butcher Block Red Ale from Tatamagouche, my favorite part on there is the 6.0 down at the bottom. Full disclosure, 2 years ago, I've started a little tradition where on my birthday, middle of summer, I go out and I find my favorite beer, and I buy a lot of it. So I bought myself a 6-pack of this one 2 years ago. And I sat in my house, and I drank it, and I was very happy.
Delicious. That tells me a lot about you, Ross, that when you said a lot of it, and then you said 6, I thought, that's not much. That's just an early evening.
It's
taken care of.
Check the percentage again. Yeah. I bought 6 because it's a 6.0.
Very true.
Then the following year, about a case. But on the site, on the website, because there's a little bit on the can which does mention that Tatamagouche, the brewery, or the tap room and brewery in Tatamagouche was converted from an old butcher shop into the community brewery, and it expands more. Butcher Block Red Ale pays tribute to the longtime butcher shop on Main Street. The smooth red ale owes its bold flavors to El Dorado's fruity hops and the rich bitterness of roasted barley, a beer made for beer drinkers that pairs well with a hard day's work. I am now realizing, Ian, that it's possible I have never offered you one of these, usually because I keep them all for me.
Have you had one of these before, Ian?
I think we were discussing earlier on Deception Bay by Tatamagouche, which was a real good find. The thing with the Tatamagouche canning system, of course, is all their cans look extremely similar, and therefore nothing. By the can itself, it's not telling me too much. Ross would be able to confirm whether or not that I've done this on his show with him or not.
You weren't there that night. I
wasn't there. Then I probably haven't, Cam. So this might be a pleasant experience for me.
It's a very nice beer.
I not even getting into it, but the smell of it already. This is just a wonderfully malt forward, not overly malted, but a malt forward red ale, and it's just the color on it is gorgeous. And what I love is that the strength of it. And I'm not sure if this has to do with the fruity hops of it, but there's this. It's a different kind of spice, but there's a little bit of a zing off the top, and I wonder if that's the strength of a 6.0 red ale down from like a 4.8 or a 5.0 red ale. But I love this stuff, and again, biggest recommendation. I tell everybody to try this, and I say you might not like it. It might not be for you, even if you like red ales. It might not be for you, but I love the zip, that extra little.
I hadn't had one in a while, so that was part of the reason that I wanted to pick it, because I know it's a delicious beer and it had been some time, so it was a little bit more of a selfish opportunity.
Color, it's a deep, reddy autumn colors. Is it very sweet?
Not very. There would be a sweetness to it, maybe.
Does it have that caramel or toffee profile of a lot of reds? Yeah.
Profile, yes. Not overdone, for sure. To my opinions.
No, it's not. It's very excellent.
Cheers again.
Malty.
It's an earthy bite almost to it.
It doesn't have
spicy.
It doesn't have that sweetness that I was thinking it might have. It's quite malty for a red.
Can't believe this is your first drink of this. Love this one.
It is. I guess it must be if I've never had it on your little podcast there.
Nope.
And I've never picked it up in the liquor store, so
and
unless I came by accident.
When I buy it for me, I drink it. I do not offer this one up. It's too good. There's a few that I do.
It's accessible though. It's accessible. It's not too hard to get your hands on, which is good.
Which surprises me because Ian and I, we suffer from this one. Whenever we find something that we really, really like, it goes away quick. We seem to like very unpopular beers. Or
the seasonal beers for sure. And that can be that's I think a great part of our industry and can be a difficult part of our industry for people who are enthusiasts about the beer. Is that, someone puts a one-off out that's maybe available for 2 months and you love it, and you go, well, now I got to wait for a year to get it again. Hopefully, if they do it again. But I think that keeps people excited about local beer. I think it keeps brands refreshed. I think it's I think it's something that's kind of necessary and a great part of our industry.
It's led us to. You've had to kind of evolve with it in saying, oh, you made this last year. Are you going to do it again? And the brewer will say, nah, we're doing other interesting stuff. Hey, so it's more about when we start following a brewery or a brewer especially, you get to know what their experiments are. and what their
For
seasonal
sure.
ones are, and then you say, "Oh, I really want to go back this season and see what what Danny Tanner is doing right now, because his seasonal stuff is always really really interesting, and I love all of them." So it allows you to maybe not have the same beer every year or the same beer all the time, but I'm one of those. I'm a weird enigma that I fear change and I also require change at the exact same time. I need everything different all the time, but don't mess with my
Yeah, but don't mess with these particular things.
yeah, don't mess with my stuff that I have to have.
Fair enough. I mean, I love the seasonality. I love that, I love that this is an industry that tries stuff. A lot of brewers around the province are like, let's try this or let's try that. And those are really exciting things. And some of them are home runs and some of them are misses. But you can't hit a home run every time, and there's going to be some misses out there. Every brewery's had those. So I think it's being willing for that to happen, I think is kind of an exciting thing, right?
Some of our favorite topics of conversation are some of the misses where, getting the attempt right, but it's still not quite hitting. For my favorite was at Patty's. They had, we've got a coconut porter. I said, I'll try that. Drank a little bit of it. What was that like? That is definitely a coconut porter. Will you try it again? No.
Yep. I've had lots of those over the years from lots of different breweries, not specifically coconut porters, which sounds really interesting, but lots of different kind of things like that. And you go, hey, this is exactly what you told me it is. It's quite nice.
Yeah,
not something I'm probably going to do again.
We applauded. You're like, top marks. You have done the thing. Hell Bay Brewing has our favorite one. O Tannenbaum. They made it. This beer tastes like Christmas trees. And we said, oh, come on. We opened it, drank. We said, yep, that is definitely, you have absolutely nailed the taste of a Christmas tree. Do we like it? No, not at all. But it's perfect. You did exactly what you were saying. So and we're getting into the science and the conversation of the brewing process, and that part's becoming fascinating. Oh, our friend Chris is in the chat. Chris, sorry if I missed your yo. I'm waxing on poetic about everything, but it's good to see you tonight.
This is lovely and smooth, Ross. You ain't wrong. I'm thinking I drink whenever I go to one of my favorite drinking holes in Greenwood. There, of course, is the Oak and Barrel. I rock up there for trivia nights most nights, and they do a $6, whatever it's called, Garrison Red. Now, I like the Garrison Red, and Garrison know a thing or two about beer. They've been doing it for pretty much longer than anyone else in the province here. And the red that they've got is very smooth. It's nice, and that's quite earthy, but it's also quite caramellish as well. And it's smoother for me than you mentioned. Your first foray into reds was the Ricard. I find Ricard perfectly fine, but it's a bit watery. There's a smoothness to this that doesn't have.
A bit more body to it.
Liking this, I can understand why
that's what you're gonna get with something like a Rickards. You're gonna get something probably that's a little bit less earthy, that's a little bit more watered down. That's a running theme with the big boys.
If it doesn't have too much personality, it can't piss too many people off.
That's true.
There you go.
So you get a very backbencher MP kind of thing. Not to get too incredibly political about it, but I find that the craft brewers are the loud guys up front that are, and we want this and that, and like, and then you get the very divisive, I don't like him very much, he's too mouthy, or other people saying, I really like him because he really tells it like it is. And then you get these forgettable backbenchers up at the back that are just kind of I don't really want to ripple the waters, I'm just here to kind of go along, tote the line and whatnot, and that's your
that's every industry, I think, in a lot of ways, right?
It explains Budweiser. It explains why Coors won't touch their recipe, because they know that they've got everyone. It's only us people with taste buds that say, no, I don't want that. I want something with something distinctive. Yeah. They don't want this with the classic.
They're not marketing beer to us.
No.
There's a bizarre hypothetical. If if Alexander Keith's and their small batch copper tureens, I don't think that's the right word, but their pots, if they or Molson's Fine Company kind of rocked up to your, as Ian said, the CBANS skyscraper in downtown Halifax, where you've got your entire corporate facilities.
Mm-hmm.
But if they come up to the front desk on the 27th floor and say, we'd like to be a part of CBANS.
Well, that's not what it is. Although I do, I understand what you're saying. No, it's for local producers. Although I do believe that the subsidy, I'd have to fact check this, but I do believe that the subsidiary of the small batch Alexander Keith's, I do believe that was made in Halifax. And I believe that because of that, I think at one point that they were maybe allowed in the Craft Brewers Association.
So there are rules and regulations to, you can be a part of us if you.
I think it's local independent. I should know the answer to that right off the bat, Ross. But I'd have to check that. I'm pretty sure when Stefan was brewing with Keats, they may have been a part of the association because it was small batch, made here, et cetera, et cetera. But I believe that's no longer.
Okay. And again, I think a little bit of our conversations that led to you coming on our show, again, thank you very much, was a little bit of a feel out of, and me constantly trying to reassure you that we are in no way gotcha journalism. We're just curious beer drinkers who would love to know as much as we can about the industry. So if at any point you say, I can't tell you that, I will happily accept it and move on.
And I would never try to say that. If I can't tell you something, it's probably because I don't know it. But there's there's other, I guess, to kind of just to elaborate a little bit more on CBANS, there are some groups kind of within CBANS, some committees like Together We Brew, which is our big beer festival that we run once a year. It's the last couple of years has been down at Pavilion Pier 22. Kind of near Garrison there. We're having some logistical challenges this year, so there could be potentially a venue change because of some renovations happening down there. But that's a massive kind of fundraiser for us as an association, and that kind of gives us the ability to be able to do some of the other things that we do.
You have a festival, I thought. There's like a CBANS. Is that part of the? Is it a competition, or is that the Together We Brew thing?
That's the Together We Brew Festival. So that's the Together We Brew Beer Festival. And that's, it's only Nova Scotia breweries that are, eligible or members of the Craft Brewers Association. So it's a Saturday. It's a 2-session festival. It has been for the last couple of years. It has been going on for probably 8 years now. And it's moved around a little bit. It's been a few different things. But we've kind of really found a home for it the last couple of years. So it was a little disappointing to hear that we may have some logistical challenges this year. But it's a big thing for the association. A big fundraiser.
Put it on the rooftop penthouse of the corporate building downtown. I think that'll really impress the shareholders.
I said that from the start.
There's a VU. What's that big lit up VU building I always see, which has probably got 30 floors in it? I always think, that's a place I want to live. Yeah. That's the place right there. I can find my way home after having 6 of your butcher's blocks on.
Not when you see the rent price. You don't want to live there, I don't think.
That's the old Fenwick Towers. There's a lot
is it?
Skeletons. I'm pretty sure it is. A lot of skeletons when they tore that building down, I'd say.
Way too many. So
I love this. Love is an overly used word, but I do love this.
You'll be happy to know this is available in the NSLC year-round. This is always there.
Yes.
And I will be a little sad if I ever see it go. But if ever, Tatamagouche probably they may replace it if nothing else, and then I'll be quite curious to see what happens. So you mentioned the membership of CBANS exists, and I mean, I don't want to get into price tags or anything, but obviously there's probably a buy, not so much a buy-in, but just there must be some sort of membership dues for any membership. And is there something where I have to assume you don't have 100% representation of all the breweries in Nova Scotia? And does that come down to, if you are a guy in a garage, say, and even before you've established yourself on even registering as a business within the province of Nova Scotia. So that's probably step one of criteria for joining CBANS is you are a registered business, because otherwise you're just Tim in the garage, and I make some brews for my friends. Probably not going to join CBANS or be eligible to do so. But everyone else, it's volunteer. Is there any kind of we talk to everybody, we reach out every year and say, hey, would you like to join? And if they say, not this year, thank you. Okay.
There are the majority of breweries in the province are members of the association, and there are annual dues, just like there would be with any other type of association.
Mm-hmm.
We have an executive director, Debbie, who is fantastic, tremendous. I worked very closely with her on a couple of committees over the last number of years, and she's awesome. So you need someone to keep us organized. I don't know if you know what it's like dealing with breweries, but it can be like herding cats just to get people to respond to emails sometimes. And you know what? It's a funny thing for sure, but also, a lot of people that have breweries, they're doing everything. Not everyone is a big brewery where there's 20 or 30 or 40 employees, or whatever the case
Sometimes
is.
Sometimes there's 3, 4.
A lot of breweries have 4,
yeah,
5, 3, whatever. So they wear a lot of hats and they have to do a lot of things. But yes, there's the majority are members. Yes, there are annual dues, and they go towards things like paying our executive director. They go into things like, we do festivals. We have a scholarship fund. We give 2 scholarships a year that are $2,500 each. Those are for, one of them is for like a diversity scholarship. The other one is for professional development within the Craft Brewers Association. So both very kind of cool things.
That's great. I didn't know about that at all.
Yeah. So that's something that's been going on for some time now. But yeah, there's 2 $2,500 scholarships. One of them is designed to encourage like diversity and inclusion in this province for underrepresented populations, marginalized people, kind of gender, race, etc.
We don't know much about that. We're 2 middle-aged white guys with a podcast.
And I was going to say, we're 3 middle-aged white guys here talking about it, but it's important in this. I think that there are, I think a lot of people would recognize that there's a lot of middle-aged white guys in beer, and I think that expanding diversity is important, and I think it's something that does get talked about. Yeah. So there is a scholarship available for that, and another one for within the association.
That's outstanding.
May I have a question?
Sure.
A question from the audience.
Wait, may I have a question?
I have a question. I'm assuming, again, probably rightly or wrongly, Cam, if you're CBANS, the Canadian Brewers Association of Nova Scotia, is there a Canadian Brewers Association of, New Brunswick or Newfoundland and Labrador? Is it a national thing? Or are you just a branch of, or is it literally something that you guys put together, 13, 14 years ago within Nova Scotia?
There are a couple of different national organizations, but no, this is independent through Nova Scotia.
Right. It just so happens that.
That's not to say, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Debbie or anyone else on the board, but I'm certain that in times where we have questions about things, we talk with other provinces, we all talk with other breweries and know what's going on. Just on a personal level, we're friends with breweries in PEI and Newfoundland and New Brunswick, and we're constantly talking about what kind of challenges are you guys facing? Are you guys seeing this? And sometimes no, we're not seeing that. Or yes, that's new here. We're starting to see a bunch of this. And we talk about, how we've seen maybe some issues that maybe we have and how we kind of work through them. So that's not just like a thing that within the province and within collaboration, that's a thing within craft beer, I think, across Canada.
So there is a network, a web infrastructure, certainly a hub here in the Maritimes and on the East Coast, and then even further afield when you want to speak to guys out on the West Coast or something about what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's I think the craft beer is, like I said, it's very collaborative. And I think that people that are enthusiastic about it and people that are involved in the industry, I think they want to share what they know and their information and their knowledge, and they want to help other people. If there's a way that I can help someone else, not have to deal with maybe a problem that I dealt with because of this mistake or that mistake or, whatever it was. I think that that's really important knowledge. And the more we can share all that stuff, the better it is for everybody. At the end of the day, we're not fighting against one another. You know,
I was going to say it's an interesting industry in that you aren't trying to listen. You want your fair share. Maybe sometimes you want more than your fair share of the
Sure.
of the industry. Of course you do, because at the end of the day, you do this as a passion, and also because, let's be honest, you do it because you want to make a bit of money. But there can't be too many industries, I think, across. I can think off the top of the head where people are collaborative and they do try and they do share their secrets, because these things, if you want to conquer the planet, you can't do it by sharing all your secrets and helping out your competitors. But it's lovely to hear that in this industry, it does happen for the benefit.
I think we've been taught that and told that. But I also think, you know, community over competition is something that is really important. You know, none of us are probably going to grow into be Molson or Labatt. None of us have $1 billion. And if we all just go at it by ourselves, you know, lots will be fine and maybe some won't. But if we work together and we can share knowledge and you know, and things that, like I said, whether it's issues or even successes, those are important to share as well. If we can share that knowledge and we can all, you know, chip away, you know, we can all grow together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the kind of thing
that's
where
really important.
in what you know, not that it's a pipe dream, but in a really fanciful situation where suddenly all of the breweries within CBANS get a request from individual countries across the planet saying, we need 80,000 liters of beer by next Tuesday. I imagine a number of emails suddenly going to Debbie saying, we'd love to be internationally renowned, but how the hell is this going? How do we deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, logistically, there'd be a lot of conversations happening behind the scenes,
And
logistically. But I tell you what, there's a lot of people who would be trying to do it.
Yep.
So we'd be trying to figure out a way to make that work.
How do you feel about 8,000 liters by next Tuesday? Let's start there.
I can do 12 on Tuesday, and I can do 10 more the next Tuesday.
You don't need that many, do you? What's the possible population of Mumbai? Come on.
They'll be into the India Pale Ales. Boom, boom. And as if by magic, there's one in my hand.
True. Breton Brewing. And honestly, Cameron, I know I'm not trying to say that you were, pitching for your own brewery here, but you couldn't have picked better. Definitely. Well, actually, we've got a lot of favorites.
I had to pick one of my own. I had to pick one of our own for sure.
We've got a lot of favorites coming out of Breton, and oddly enough, I talk about this. Ian and I do not like sours. I like Breton's sour.
The
Let's Jam. And specifically, and I love the fact that it rotates. Right. And again, it comes down to, I hate change, but I love change. So there's a few years and I think, oh, I really like this one. And then the next year, oh, I really love what they've done with that. And I love the mix there. And I'm the guy that really loves Sons of Hector Brown Ale.
I love it too.
I'm a good percentage of your sales right there.
It's one of our original 3 beers. Oh. So thank you for saying that. I'm happy to hear that.
Well, we like a malty ale. Ian and I, we tend towards the darks, the stouts, the porters, and when we occasionally find a bock, a brown ale, this kind of thing, we've never advertised ourselves or claimed to be IPA fans. And then approximately 18 months ago, something started to occur. Either the IPAs got better, we got older, our flavors changed, something happened. We're like, you know what? These are actually really good. And
it's a bit weird, actually, Cam, because Ross is talking as if we are a unit. Ian and I, we do this, we do that. But weirdly, our taste buds and our personal
just because you don't know what a jalapeno tastes like doesn't mean that we're opposite.
That aside, they have slowly mutated. I mean, there was 2 or 3 years ago we were like, oh no, it's IPA night. We've got to have 5 or 6 of these damn things, and we're going to hate this. And there might have been one that we were like, yeah, that one's okay. I don't mind that so much. But slowly, over the interim, the more IPAs we tried, the smoother they were, the less smashing your head off they were, and we slowly came around to start enjoying some IPAs. And we thought, you know what, especially Ross, the squashier ones, the fruitier ones,
The hazies.
Absolutely.
The
and it's
doubles
weird.
into triples as well.
It's gone exactly the same way.
Huge
She didn't like them
interest.
either. And it may be that the brewers, hey, hear me out here, maybe they're just making slightly better IPAs than they were a couple of years ago. It might be a thing.
Hey, 10,000 hours. It's a real thing. So I do think that, of course, I think that it's like anything, whether it's sports or, whatever you do for work or anything, you put enough time into it and you get enough reps in, you're going to get better at it. You're going to find little things.
Yep.
I truthfully, very similar to you, Ian, when I started in this industry, 10 years ago, I wasn't a massive IPA lover. I loved all different kinds of flavors of craft beer. I really enjoyed them, but I wasn't a massive IPA guy. I just wasn't. And I think that that's pretty common for a lot of people kind of being introduced to craft beer in the early stages. But once I got there, I still appreciate other beers, but I really enjoy IPAs now, and I think that we've seen that, like specifically at Breton, Black Angus is, it's a huge part of what we do, and it's a really good beer. But I use my dad as an example, and when I got into the craft beer industry, my father wanted, of course, to support me and support Breton. It's a local brewery, and it's fantastic. He drank Keys and Olins his whole life, and he'd have the odd Guinness or the odd dark beer maybe when we were out. When Breton opened, he really got into, he wanted to try different stuff, and I think that was a byproduct of wanting to support me, which is very, very awesome. But now that he's gotten to IPAs, that's it. Like, he just drinks Black Angus, or he'll drink a few other IPAs, but like he doesn't go backwards. It's like he got there and he just wants IPAs now. So I think that's a common theme.
I mean, it does say the strong beer. This is the 6.2, so it's the strongest of the night. The Black Angus IPA does mention a quick thing, citrusy. This citrusy IPA, named after the largest natural giant ever recorded. That would be Angus MacKinnon.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research up over here. He would deadlift anchors to pass the time. That is quite an anecdote right there.
Yeah, he was the largest natural giant ever. So he was proportionate. He didn't have, I think they call it gigantism. He didn't have gigantism. He was naturally proportionate. So he was a massive, massive man who originally came from Scotland and settled in Englishtown, Cape Breton Island.
Angus MacKinnon was from Scotland. Get out of here. Well,
yeah,
that's.
And our Halifax sales rep, Kyle MacKinnon, Kyle is from Englishtown, and it's his great granduncle.
Wow!
Wow!
So like his aunt runs the Giant MacKinnon Museum in Englishtown, which is a small little, really cool kind of little spot, and yeah, very neat.
Is it a genetic thing, or is he a big fella too?
No, I mean he's like he's a regular size per guy. He's I mean everyone's a little bit bigger than me because I'm pretty short, but yeah, he's like 6 feet tall, and he's not 7'8".
Goodness, you're gonna make me look this up, Ian. But I feel like the answer is, if I could type, that both gigantism and dwarfism is not hereditary.
Good grief, you are Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I'm nearly positive, but I am checking.
Yeah.
Can be inherited due to a genetic variant, but not like guaranteed. So this is the opposite of redheadishness.
Well, then look up when you have a spare moment. Then how come the Dutch are all so tall if it's not inherited? Well, whatever.
Are they all tall?
Yeah, they all are. Every single one.
Tallest country on the planet. The Dutch.
Oh.
They are the tallest.
Why do I know that? I don't remember why I know that, but I know that. But Angus MacKinnon, here he is, 1825 to 1863, Scottish-born Canadian giant. Say he was the strongest man, tallest non-pathological giant. I am not clicking on that link. Largest true giant in recorded history. Blah, 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 blah.
I mean,
he would just deadlift anchors.
We do love getting into the name and the nomenclature and all the different histories of whatnot. But honestly, we're giving away, what is it? Giving away the ghost? Is that the The idiom. I've heard that. Don't give away the ghost. Ian, you've got to be with me on that. That's got to be British, is it not?
Give up the ghost. I've heard.
Give up the
Yes,
ghost. That's the one. Regardless, because
sounds like an IPA.
Cam, at some point in the future, not to give anything to the ghost, that we'd love to talk to Breton more about and have a lovely display of Breton beers on and talk to Breton Brewing about what's going on there. So I'm trying not to go too deep on Breton Brewing while you're here, but stick to the CBANS conversation as best we can.
And we would love to do that at some point. But yes, 100%, of course.
I'm trying to keep my piles separate. My Lego blocks, the orange blocks over here, the blue blocks over here. I am building some kind of I don't know, blue and orange Scandinavian hospital.
I realize Black Angus is just a name, and this is an IPA. But weirdly, of course, Ross and I have discovered in the last couple of years that there are, blows your mind, black IPAs. The world of beer, craft brewing is turned upside down. There were, like white stouts and black IPAs. I was kind of expecting that this would be one of them, but it's just a name, is it not?
It is. So that was the and again, Ross, not to dive too deep into Breton, but yeah, that was John McCaskill's nickname, was Black Angus. That's what everyone called him. So that's where the name comes from.
And the jet black can though as well.
Well, yeah, it wasn't always. It used to be a different can. We did change it, but yeah, we always kind of make the joke when people say, "Oh, I thought it was going to be a black IPA." We always joke that we wanted to make the beer as confusing as possible for people. But it's not, and we get that at beer festivals all the time. Oh, I thought that was a black IPA. Nope, it's just it was a nickname of this giant. It always gets a few looks.
Just read the label closer. That's all. It does say the next part of the description on the website. It does say, enjoy the mouthful of ale of delicious citrusy mix of Chinook, Centennial, Cascade, and Citra hops. So 4 hops are in this one.
4 C's.
4. Chris is also mentioning in the chat that it could be a growth hormone in meats leads to taller people, but.
Well,
in 1825, Chris, come on. We weren't. You can't bring growth hormone in meats conspiracies from the 21st century all the way to the early 19th. That's just unfair.
Ross, do you have a Breton glass there as well?
Sure
Very
do.
Nice. Oh, that's great. That's a limited one.
Well, the sad news is I believe this is one of the ones I've got 2 or 3. I try to collect one from all the breweries. So I had my Good Robot one. What, Ian?
Was that the one I got from, what's it called? Valley Village?
I think it was. Yep, this is my Valley Village one. I've got 2 or 3 from Valley Village, but most of them are from the source.
Amazing. I love that it was there. That's great.
It was.
We've seen a few Breton ones there. It's happened more than once where I say, "Oh, do we have one?" And we keep sending each other pictures while we're there. But it does have, in fact, because this is a great one because it shows that all the different beers that have been on tap. So the Black Angus is actually, if I could put this in front of my face, there we go. The Black Angus, the Hector's there, the Smash, even the Pumpkin, Guava Passion Fruit. Did we try the Shipwreck? I don't quite remember. Storm Chaser we've tried. 7 Years IPA we've tried. Island Time.
Of the IPA variants, Cam, the Smash that Ross mentioned there remains my least favorite.
We did not like the single malt, single hop one.
Yeah, the single malts and the single hops. Those versions, for some reason, they're still turning my face inside out, even at this stage.
It's not around anymore, Ian. So you'll be happy to hear that. But I actually really liked it. So we differ on that one a little bit, but. Yeah, I mean, listen, everyone is not making, no one's making a beer that every single person, no one's making every beer that everyone's going to love. That's, again, I think part of the exciting thing and cool thing about our industry. Like I hear all the time, it's like, hey, I don't really love this one, but man, I love that. That's great. As long as I hear the I love that on the other end of it.
I think that is what the real hop heads go for. It's that single hop smash that you get from that version of the IPA. They're all around about the 5% mark, and they just go, oh God, yeah, give me that zing that those people really want. Whereas the people that are more more in line with a maltier beer are able to sort of worm their way slowly into the maltier IPAs, so we say. And the doubles and the triples have blown us away recently because of that lovely balance, that blend of the hop.
There's a ton of good beer being made right now in Nova Scotia. There really, really is. And it's like you said, I don't know if the beers are getting better. I think they are. I think everyone's getting more reps in. I think everyone's getting more time in. I think everyone's really dialing things in. The days of putting something on the shelf and just expecting it to sell because it's, local or it's Nova Scotia, I think those days are kind of gone. I think everyone realizes that you really need to put the time in. You really need to understand what you're doing, and you really need to understand what people want to drink out there, because there's a lot of options, and there's a lot of really good options. We have great options. Every brewery's got some really good options out there. So I think that's part of the industry growing a little bit as a whole is beer getting better, isn't that great for all of us?
My favorite part of this entire adventure has been where the rules that I set for myself are we have to try Nova Scotia beers, and I had to look it up because and it said no, a sour is definitely a beer. It is definitely a brewed beer, and we said all right, fine, we have to try the sours, and so we try the sours, and Ian still doesn't like them. I found a few that I do like, but were it not for this adventure that we push, I push the rules on myself to say you gotta try it all. If you're just trying one type, then you're not. We're not trying what Nova Scotia has to offer. We have to try the single malt, single hop IPAs, and we try to get through the IPAs, and we've struggled through a few that we didn't really enjoy, but when we tried them, we put our most objective taste buds and faces on saying, it's not my cup of tea, but I can appreciate how it smooths out the back end, and the flavors up front, and they're really putting in the description on the can is hitting 100%. It's all about the description and what you're expecting to taste. And someone says you're going to get a really great a balanced IPA with a hazy and a juicy front, and we said yes, that's what's going on. And our personal anecdote is usually, would you order another one? And we say probably not, but it's really nailing what's going on. So the exploration has been one of my favorite parts of the adventure, where we always say things like, were it not for forcing ourselves to 100% inclusion, probably would never try 50 to 70% of these beers that we've tried. We'd live in our little bubble.
And that's totally fair. And that's not different from, that's not different from me. That's not different from anyone working in this industry. I'm not a massive sour guy. I like our sour. I like sours okay in general. But I want like a half a pint of sour, or maybe a beer of sour. It's not, necessarily a beer that super suits me. But I love IPAs, I love all kinds of different. And I think, again, that's part of the exciting thing in this industry, is that it introduces people to new styles. And if you take the time to kind of try them, there's a good chance if you get out there, you're going to find something really cool that you probably didn't know about and that you're probably going to like.
Well, Cam, does CBANS have any influence, any sway, any pull whatsoever with the government at all in how much tax the craft breweries have to pay when you're reaching, obviously, with the government, with the NSLC being a government-owned?
Are you asking if CBANS is influential lobbyist group?
I think for 1 second okay, not influence. Let me rephrase it. Can you put it to them through some kind of avenue that the little guys are being somewhat played out of the scene, Do you understand what I'm getting at here?
I do.
Do you have not leverage? That's not the word I'm looking for. But do they listen to you? I mean, you said you work with the government.
Great question. You know, the answer is, yes. CBANS is, constantly working with the NSLC, lobbying for things that matter to us and matter to our association and matter to our brewers from large to small. All kinds of different things. Like without getting deep into the nitty gritty, yeah, things like, how much this is being paid for, how much that's being paid for, how much taxes on things this size, how much, that all happens. Absolutely. Do they listen to us? I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's been some wins over the years. It's, again, a bit of a loaded question to discuss the NSLC, but yeah, I mean, we've had some wins, we've had some losses, we'd like some more things, and we're going to keep fighting. That's, I guess that's the best way I can put it. There's been some wins over the years, there's been a few losses over the years, but the Brewers Association is going to continue to fight on behalf of Nova Scotia craft breweries to help them as best they can.
It's a give and take.
So at least you have a conversation. You have a media that you can actually talk like.
Yeah, I mean,
put your case.
Yes. CBANS has aligned to the NSLC the same way every brewery has aligned to the NSLC as well. Again, it's not always easy doing things on your own, but I have meetings with the NSLC the same way I would imagine almost every brewery in this province that deals with them does. What CBANS kind of, would work with or would advocate for, would lobby on, would be the larger overarching kind of issues for the entire, for the entire brewing industry in Nova Scotia, where, let's say when I have a meeting with the NSLC, I'm trying to fight more for, my company and maybe things that we want within our company the same way any other brewery would, right? Garrison and Propeller or Tatamagouche. But as an association, the association is kind of fighting for the entire industry.
Well, the benefit there is that you are a group as opposed to a couple of individuals, and I
what you said, stronger together. The more people come forward, it's almost like almost like a union that you can go to a central figure and say, hey, fight for us on our behalf, rather than each individual brewery trying to fight for some tiny little niche of the market. Well, it's better that there is a voice.
Community over competition.
And my favorite part of that is you mentioned it's a board. It's not a head, because as soon as you hear someone, the head of CBANS has gone to talk to the provincial government today, and you think, oh, wait a minute, what if the current head, where I always worry about the figureheads, the premier of Nova Scotia, I think, oh, here we go. Here's one person who thinks they're in charge of everything. But I'm always much more akin to a lovely little group of decision makers that have to agree before things happen.
We have larger producers and smaller producers that are represented on the board of directors for CBANS,
which is awesome.
And so there's voices, and if there's an issue, and again, as I said, there are these smaller committees, they come in and we have board meetings. There's all kinds of different numbers of things that we go through, but everyone's heard and everyone's represented there. And people can say their piece on whatever, but yeah, again, it's about coming together as an entire organization and fighting for the things that, we think we should have, and we think that the province should help us out with. And we provide a lot to the province in terms of employment, in terms of what we keep in this province, in our economy, how many people, how many people we employ, how much of that money stays here, that's really important.
And it would be silly to assume that the government was sort of, we're not so big. That's what I love about the size of Nova Scotia. We're not so big that the government of Nova Scotia could say, CBANS, we've never heard of them. You say, well, okay, yeah, I get it. Halifax is half of our population. If you've got 1 million people in Nova Scotia, 500,000 of them are in Halifax. But you heard of the rest of the province. You know that we're all out here. You know of these groups. So what I love about the fact that we have, I guess, maybe a lower population is that if you get a group of everybody and you get a group of businesses together of a certain type, of a brewery type, you become, I don't want to say a force, because that makes it sound a little I don't know, aggressive, where it's but a union, a group of people, and you become a voice
a
enough.
louder voice.
Yeah, that maybe you wouldn't be able to be if Nova Scotia had a population of 33 million and 22 million of them were in Halifax.
Yeah. I guess, like, to answer the direct question, yes, CBANS has aligned to the NSLC, and like it's no one's ignoring, like, no one's ignoring Debbie when she reaches out or anything like that.
Hang up on that. Oh, it's just Debbie calling again. Let it go to voicemail. Whatever. No, it's not. It can't.
It could be anyone from the board, but no, it's done in a very, of course, formalized way. But like, we have, there are representatives in the NSLC that work very closely with us to try to help accommodate the things we're looking for.
And I love that that we're small enough as an area, and CBANS has done so well to matter. Or not, I mean, you mattered from the get-go. Everything matters, but to just show that you matter.
Well, it's if we're not fighting for the things that people need, and that we feel are that should be a certain way, let's say, based on what we see outside of Nova Scotia and the rest of the country and other places, like we that kind of data gets used. Hey, where do we sit in terms of what's happening in other provinces? Those are things that we're looking at all the time, and that would come into, as we talked about earlier, potentially talking with other places on the issues that they're dealing with. But understanding that and knowing what everyone wants, that's a huge part of it.
It's funny, while you were saying that, I was actually thinking about, you were talking about the amount of revenue that the craft brewing industry brings into Nova Scotia, as in every province. I wonder, just off the top of my head, I wonder if anyone's ever crunched those figures to see exactly, dollar-wise, how much we export craft brewery-wise into neighboring provinces or even down south of the border. Isn't it interesting?
I bet someone's got the numbers.
It is. Exporting is not well, I don't want to say it's not massive, and I certainly can't speak on behalf of a brewery. I'm sure there are breweries doing probably some exporting that I don't even know about, to be honest with you. But if we're talking about interprovincial lines, with, say, New Brunswick or PEI or Newfoundland or Ontario, I guess I would say this: when you go to the NSLC, how many beers do you see from other provinces?
That's absolutely true. Yeah, there are several that you find from New Brunswick, and of course I haven't even seen any from Newfoundland and Labrador. And I'm sure there's there. It's PEI and New Brunswick. You might have maybe half a dozen,
couple
of those neighboring maritime.
Right, you got to be big.
So within 10, 12, the last years, this industry has really exploded, and it's been a challenge, I guess, interprovincially, the same way it is for anyone trying to come in here. And there's a little bit of a protecting our own kind of economy.
That's
and that's not necessarily that's not the way necessarily craft brewers think, or maybe the way that we would necessarily even want it. And again, I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of everyone, but everyone's trying to protect their own industry a little bit, and it's hard not to get that kind of, you know what I mean? Like,
I am really glad, by the way, Cam, that there is one beer that manages to slip through the net about this time every year. It's Upstreet's Gravedigger.
I knew you were going to mention that one. Your favorite Halloween beer.
Most delicious pumpkin spice ale, and I can't get enough of it.
Can I just say, awesome. While we've been going on about CBANS and their wonderful influence and benefit to the province, but the Breton Black Angus is it's such a tasty, smooth, no bitter wash on the back end. This is a very easily drinkable 6.2, which does not happen a lot for a 6.2 IPA. This is remarkably easy to get through.
We call it a very approachable IPA, that's for sure. And Gravedigger is delicious. Upstreet opened the same day we did, in 2015, or it might have been the day after. So we've always been close with those guys. We've
Oh,
done a
that's
few collaboration brews over the years, and we work on some big sponsorship stuff like the East Coast Music Awards. Upstreet's a sponsor with us and a few other breweries. So they're great people.
I'm a little worried
I was
because
pandering to you. I truly think that they are that pumpkin spice is my absolute favorite.
it's
And I can't. And when it disappears, in fact, when they come November time, when they put them all on at the NSLC at maybe 50 cents off or something, I go in there and I buy them all up. So they disappear for all the local NSLC.
I'm a little worried this year for Christmas season because the harvest season, the pumpkin season was a bit small.
Yeah.
Not everyone making a harvest pumpkin beer this year. So I wonder if maybe Christmas is going to be a little light. Breton has who's got the cookies and cream?
We have the milk and cookies.
The milk and cookies. We've had that one in Christmases past. The ghost of Christmases past. So we're hoping to see a few things again, as close as we can get. Because again, where things arrive in the NSLC, and I don't get out to everything. However, I will say I am a new convert of the mail order beer system.
It's excellent.
Mail order beer.
Yes.
So that's quite different from mail order beer. I was worried. Ross. This is the first week in I don't know how long. I've been Wi-Fi with you all evening.
And it worked. Well, except for the first half hour when you couldn't connect.
Oh, yeah.
Aside from that.
We don't talk about that. That's a Bruno situation.
I'm amazed. Cam, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. I'm out of here. Good night, fellas.
Thank you, Ian.
Cam, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. I hope we didn't talk your ear off or ask too many questions or too few questions. The goal, the nervous goal to my own personal anxieties was to make sure that we've talked about, and we've mentioned this, that we've been doing this for 3 years, and we've talked about CBANS and talked about its influence and its use, and just the fact that it exists has always given us this warm fuzzy feeling of, oh, good, our favorite breweries are a part of this delightful collective that, if nothing else, can just be this big brother arm around voice for, we'll help you get that thing. And just like I said, the number of times that I've been to a small business collective group, I feel like that's what it takes. And once you've got that, and everyone's sort of, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Scoop, come on in. We'll help you get there.
There's another, you just made a great point. There's another thing too, right? Is, people that are in the association, again, working with others, going, hey, we're smaller, we're just starting this, we're just trying this, whatever. If someone reaches out to Debbie and says, hey, I got a question on this, she'll send an email out to the whole, to every one of the CBANs and say, hey, so-and-so from such and such a brewery has some questions on this. Does anyone have any experience in it that can help them? And I guarantee you someone reaches out to them that day.
I forgot to make fun of Ian's hat, because I mentioned that Ian and we wear a number of different hats in our particular community, where we wear a local music, a live music hat. We both do live local music.
Awesome.
We both do live local theater. I'm surprised I can get him in the show. He's in rehearsals for several shows right now. We do a lot of local theater. We're on some boards, and the local theaters and their little collaborations, and we talk to different groups and we collaborate and whatnot. So our love for local Nova Scotia craft beer has brought us to this attention. And whenever we have the conversation about CBANS, it gets very close to how the different theaters come together a little bit.
Okay.
Not as well as CBANS. So honestly, this conversation, I can't wait to bring this back to my theater people and saying, hey, look, what could be possible.
It's clear you're very involved in the community, and again, it's just, this is people that are in the same community working for a greater goal, or working for something where it feels like, if I'm just by myself, yelling and screaming at the clouds, I'm getting nowhere. But at least when I can sit down and I can talk to other people in this industry, and I can talk to other people having the same or similar problems, and we can all go at this together, man, it makes you feel better about it.
And I feel like that's what's being offered to big, small, medium-sized Nova Scotia craft breweries. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I felt like we've appreciated CBANS for more than 3 years. But once we learned about it and started talking about it, we said, oh, I'd love to just... And it almost wasn't even a solid construction of our conceptions, but in just talking to you, yes, we've confirmed everything that, yep, CBANS has everyone that needs that resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're protected. They're represented.
And it works if you work it too, right? So it's, if you're in the association and you have questions and you want to talk to someone, or Debbie can send you in the right direction, or you can reach anyone that's in the craft beer industry can go onto the website and look at anyone on the board of directors and reach out to them via email, and you're going to get a response back. We're going to want to help. Somehow, or you go, hey, I've never dealt with this, but talk to, like, CC'd Mikey here. Check it out with him. Yeah. I know he went through that. And there's some comfort in having that resource, and that's what we like to feel like we provide.
It's weird how it reminds me of dealing with theater things at the same time, because too many hats, way too many hats. But I want to thank Cameron MacKinnon for being here on our podcasty thing. Ian, of course, who was already buggered off and gone somewhere else. But we're here live every Wednesday. Tonight we're on a special night, but when we have a special guest, we have to do special different things. But Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. is the traditional attempt. And join us next week. Nothing big, huge plan, but I want to thank Cameron again and Ian again. And thank everyone for tuning in. If you did, there'll be some recordings and whatnot available. You look up Drink NS Dry at the Instagram, the TikToks, the YouTubes, Drink NS Dry. youtube.com/@drinknsdry. Or if you go to the source, drinknsdry.unsupervised.beer. We're at most of the podcasty places, and that is everything I can think of right now. But thank you for joining us, and have an excellent night, everyone.